Yo, what is going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be going over how to completely reset your body in 90 days. This is going to include optimizing your hormones, completely eliminating toxins, and revamping dead cells in your body. So that by the end of 90 days, you are going to be feeling so much better. You're going to have increased energy without the need for stimulants. Your testosterone and growth hormone are going to be naturally boosted. Your recovery is going to be much more efficient. You're going to be sleeping better, performing better. It's going to improve your life in so many ways. So make sure you're watching carefully, taking notes, because if you apply everything in this video, I guarantee you that in the next couple months, your body is going to feel completely different. You're going to feel like a new man, ready to tackle new challenges, and just feel like that guy, ready to conquer the world. Alright, so some brief background on me so that you know where I'm coming from and how I know what I'm talking about. All through high school, I had struggled with a ton of injuries while playing football and baseball. Mostly, musculoskeletal injuries, a lot of tendons, a lot of tears, and a couple broken bones as well. And it wasn't just your typical high school kid. This led me to go to multiple physical therapists, multiple sports med doctors, and eventually even a rheumatologist to figure out what these issues actually were. And when I went to that rheumatologist, I found out I had the symptoms of some autoimmune and autoinflammatory diseases. And so I had to completely reset my health to detoxify and try to fix all of these chronic issues I've been having. And so through fixing my diet, going gluten-free, through focusing on my recovery, optimizing my performance, I was able to get to this point where I'm at now, where I am much leaner than I was. I have increased energy throughout the day and better overall focus whenever I'm working, whenever I'm doing calls, everything like that. I am stronger and have a much higher aerobic base. I can run for endurance now, which I could never do before. And overall I just feel great. My sleep's improved, my digestion is 1,000 times better. I don't have any more of the leaky gut issues I used to have. And I'm just able to stay consistent every day of the week without getting burnt out. So I was able to go from someone who couldn't even play an entire season of a sport without getting hurt to now feeling the best I've ever felt in my entire life, and now I coach men to do the same. So my goal in this video is to show you everything I did with the help of doctors that completely revamped my health so that you can consider treatments for yourself that might do the same thing and get you to feeling the best you've ever felt in your entire life. So let's get right into it. Alright, so step one is going to be the detox and the gut reset. Now this is the foundation for the rest of this video. This is going to be the most basic part, but if you don't have this under control, then all the rest of the video is going to be ineffective because you need your guts and your digestion working as well as it possibly can so that it's able to incorporate everything else we're going to add in more efficiently. Alright, so first up we want to eliminate all our toxins through repairing our gut, and we're going to reboot our metabolism to work more efficiently. So the way we're going to do this is for the first 30 days of this process, we're going to remove all ultra-processed foods. So that's going to be any sort of fast food, any sort of fried food, seed oils, alcohol, snacks, sugars, and even sugar alcohols in this time. Even though they're not calories, they are harsh on your gut lining, which is going to cause inflammation, cause those toxins to get into your bloodstream, and that's what we're trying to detox from. So for just those first 30 days, we're going to cut out all of that. And then on top of that, we're going to stop eating until we're full. So we're only going to eat till about 80%. That way you're retraining your brain to not overeat and not crave too much food, and it's able to work more efficiently with the energy that it's given. So we're going to do this through drinking water, tea, and electrolytes instead of those diet sodas or energy drinks. If you need the caffeine, you can have it from coffee or yerba mate, just stuff that's going to be easy on your gut and not cause all of that inflammation. Now seed oils as well, there's not much long-term data on what it's going to do to your overall health, but there's no argument over that the seed oils cause inflammation in your body and that you want to cut out the seed oils to cut out that inflammation, which is going to cause extra bloating, extra fat storage. You just want none of that. So we're going to center our meals around whole foods, and in those meals we want to be getting in a lot of fiber, a lot of micronutrients. So that's going to be through fermented foods, through berries, through antioxidant rich foods, and just getting in enough protein. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And start eating slower, that way your digestion works better, that way you feel full faster without having to eat as much food. It's overall going to help you a lot. So the goal of this first step is going to be eliminating all those toxins and resetting your gut to allow it to work more efficiently so that everything else we add in after this step is truly going to make the difference that we want it to make. Alright, so step 2 is going to kind of tie into step 1, but it's going to be that recovery and that metabolic reset. So this is going to be revamping our cells, revamping our sleep, and allowing our metabolism to work more efficiently so that we're able to lose more fat and burn more calories without changing anything to our training or our diet. Alright, so this actually should say 10K steps a day. but we want to be getting in 10,000 steps daily, which is gonna, keep you consistently burning calories throughout the day, getting that blood flow to your legs, and, just steps are crucial for every aspect of your health. We want to be lifting a minimum of 3 times per week. I work out 6 times a week. The big thing is we don't want to go into this too fast and end up overworking ourselves and stressing out our mitochondria and making our productivity worse than we want it to be. So if you're a beginner or you're just starting to get into the gym, then start at 3 times a week and then go from there as tolerated. For me, I'm doing 6 days a week. I don't recommend doing 7. I believe everyone needs to have a rest day, but 5 to 6 is going to be that sweet spot for, just optimal gains. And then getting in sunlight every day is going to balance your vitamin D, which is super important for your hormone production, especially your testosterone. And that's something that 70% of Americans are actually deficient in. And then once again, getting in those micronutrients to restore your gut and to help your body process all of the macronutrients. So that's going to be protein, fats, and carbs that you're getting from all your other meals. And we'll go into the diet a little bit later as well. All right, so for sleep, you're going to want to have fixed sleep and wake times every day. Now, it is super important to be getting minimum 7 hours of sleep per night, but a way to make this even more efficient is having the same sleep schedule no matter what throughout the week. And that's going to allow your circadian rhythm to balance every night and to produce the hormones on a consistent pattern, which is going to make the process more efficient. To improve your sleep, on top of having those fixed sleep and wake times, you want to set your room to a cool temperature at night. That's going to lower your internal body temperature, lower your resting heart rate, and help you to, wind down and get into a deeper sleep throughout the night. Now, the best thing would be to have it warmer in the morning to help you wake up, but that's not as important as having it cool to sleep. And I know you can get mattress covers for that. They are honestly too expensive for me at this point in my life, but I've noticed a huge improvement just setting my air conditioning to 64 degrees. Anywhere between 64 and 67 degrees is going to be optimal for that sleep. Then you're going to want to be balancing your blue light before bed. As you can see, I have my red lights on right now. I have these blue light glasses. They don't really do much. They just soothe my eyes. I normally wear ones that actually have red lenses, but when I do that, I have a hard time filming these videos because it makes everything orange. So I'm not wearing those right now, but I do have them just right up here above my desk. And that's just going to eliminate all that blue light that's signaling to your brain that it's morning or that it's daytime, because at night you want to be having just that red light so that it signals for your body to shut down and that it's nighttime. And then caffeine, you want to cut off, they say 6 hours before bed. Caffeine's half-life, I believe, is 12 hours. So I personally don't have it 8 hours before I go to bed. I'll usually wake up at 6 a.m. I'll wait 2 to 3 hours to have my caffeine, so I usually have my caffeine around 8 or 9, either while I'm at the gym or right after the gym. And then I'm going to pair that with L-theanine to just have more balanced energy throughout the day. But the big thing for that is I'm not having it before bed or any time close to bedtime. That way it's all completely out of my system and I'm completely ready to wind down at night. And then this last part is going to be fasting. So intermittent fasting is going to be super important to boost your metabolism. It's going to allow your metabolism to work faster and work in a more efficient cycle and get used to not having the calories in your system so that it has to cut into the fat stores in your body and that excess fat to get the proper amount of fuel. So the way we're going to do this is just have no late night snacking, have your last meal 2 to 3 hours before bed so that it's fully digested by the time you're in bed. That way your body's just done with all of its work for the day. And then just having structured meals. So for me currently, I'm in a 500 to 600 calorie deficit, trying to just drop a little extra fat before the summer. And I'm building that diet around 3 meals a day, just a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as well as a snack during the day and a dessert after dinner. And so I'm having these between 12 noon and 8 p.m. So I'm in that 8-hour window. Intermittent fasting, I have been training fasted. This is, personal choice. For me, I've noticed that makes a huge difference with my training. But yeah, just preventing that late night snacking and eating within that window every day is really going to boost your metabolism, allow you to hit your calorie goals, and allow your body to use those calories in the most efficient ways you possibly can. All right, so now let's get a little more detailed into the nutrition part of this. And so what I use is the vertical diet. Now, I don't follow it 100%, but my diet is centered around the vertical diet, as well as these animal-based and hybrid trainer diets that you see online from Santa Cruz Medicinals, Paul Saladino, people like that. So the reason I do this is it's centered around whole foods, so I'm not getting any toxic chemicals or anything like that in my body. It's all going to be organic, no seed oils, no hard-to-digest foods like gluten or anything like that. So my meal base, I basically alternate these proteins. So breakfast, I'll have eggs, and then I'll also have, like a Greek yogurt with some berries on it. And then lunch, I'll typically have beef, and then dinner, I will alternate chicken or fish. And so this allows me to get in the right amount of protein, and it's going to be a very nutrient dense protein from having grass-fed, grass-finished beef or wild-caught salmon, just everything that has those nutrients in it for your body. And then combining that with gluten-free carb sources such as white rice, potatoes, oats. I have some, but they are harder to digest, so I try to avoid oats. And then fruits for your training fuel, as well as, honey, pure dark chocolate. Just simple carbs that are easy to digest, have micronutrients in them, and are going to fuel your body. Because if you're sticking to a ketogenic diet, then your glycogen stores are going to get depleted, and you're going to end up burning out, having low energy, and just feeling like your muscles are empty, like they're not as full of energy and strength as they could be. And then fats are super important, especially if you're natural. Having the fats is going to be super important, especially in a deficit, to make sure that your hormones are balanced and getting the right fuel, so that you're not tanking and losing energy while you're on the diet. So this says moderate intake. I'd say moderate to high, actually. For me, I'm probably having 100 grams of fat a day, and that's coming from stuff like eggs, meat, olive oil, a lot of cheese I have in my diet. Stuff like that, that's obviously whole, easily digestible, and going to balance the fats in your body. Avocados are another big one. All right, so choose those easy to digest whole foods and alternate them so that it's easy to stay consistent. So for me, I, will alternate rice and potatoes with my lunch and dinner, and then I'll alternate chicken, beef, and fish, usually salmon. And, I'll just make a ton of different combinations of those with different sauces, hot sauces, mustard, stuff like that. And so it just gives you a lot of variety while not having a big range of foods to choose from. So that's going to make it easier to stay consistent, eliminate the decision fatigue, and you're going to want to avoid highly processed foods and then just the random snacking, because that's going to push your calories over and is also often processed. Even if they market as healthy, many of them use seed oils, stuff like that. And those processed foods are going to have toxins, be hard to digest, slow down this hormone optimization. So for your meal structure, like I said earlier, 2 to 4 structured meals a day, depending on your goals, and just limit the snacking. So you want to have your carbs highest around training, so right before and right after, to make sure your glycogen stores are in check, and then have lower carbs on your rest days because your body's not going to need as much of that fuel coming from the carbs. And then your protein is going to stay consistent daily, so that's going to be about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is going to be the optimal levels. And I'll mention in a little bit, you can actually get to a point where you've optimized your hormones and your mitochondria so much that you're potentially able to process and actually use more protein than that. That's not proven, but Jacob Nashenson has been doing an experiment with it, and he's noticed in himself he's digesting more protein, putting on more muscle, simply because he's optimized his body to a point where it's able to process that protein as efficiently as possible. All right, step 4 is going to be your training system. So I follow a hybrid training system. I believe that's going to be the optimal way to be improving your strength, gaining muscle, while keeping a high VO2 max, keeping yourself in great cardiovascular shape, and staying mobile and functional so that you're able to train long into your life, into maybe even your 70s, 80s, 90s while staying healthy. So in my training, I will center every workout around compound lifts. So, that would be bench press, squats, deadlifts, full body rows, power cleans, stuff like that, which are going to actually send more stress signals to your body to produce more hormones that are going to lead to more muscle growth, more strength, and more metabolic demand efficiently. All right, so you're going to be wanting to track every single one of your lifts for progressive overload, making sure you're not plateauing or losing strength. You want to make sure you're adding reps or weight every week. And I tend to go to failure. Maybe if I'm doing a total of 18 working sets per workout, I tend to go to failure for probably 6 of those. But don't go to failure every time. Keep 1 to 2 reps in reserve to avoid, getting burnt out or getting fully depleted. So you want to emphasize, clean form over maximal load so that you're not getting injured and so that you're able to train long into the future. Forget about your ego right now. It's more important to be safe for the future. And it's really not going to make much of a difference if you're lifting heavier with worse form. You're not going to look any better that way, not going to feel any better. There's no benefit to it. And then as well as doing that, so I will do a chest and back and then a shoulders, arms, and then a leg day. Alternate that so that I'm doing 6 total lifts a day. I'll combine that with the conditioning. So I'm making sure to get zone 2 cardio every single day. So that will be incline walking on a treadmill, which is going to improve that fat oxidation, burn fat, improve my endurance, and then to improve my mitochondrial efficiency and build up my baseline higher and higher so that I am, keeping my heart in check, everything like that. So I do one HIIT workout a week, and that usually only ends up being 15 to 20 minutes, but super high intensity, getting your heart rate super high. Mine's around 160 when I'm doing that. And it's just going to increase your VO2 max, burn fat more efficiently per minute than really any other form of exercise that you can do. And that's just going to build up your conditioning, which is going to last and have long-term benefits on your heart, on your organs, on everything. So your goal is to build that aerobic base without compromising recovery or strength progress. That way you're not ending up like a runner who's a twig, who's super weak, and all they're good at is running. That way you're still big, but you're also not a bodybuilder who can't move and can't do anything. Like Chris Bumstead, who ran one time and pulled his hamstring. Like, you want to be able to move functionally, feel good, play with your kids, whatever it may be, while still being strong, being able to do cool stuff with your body at the same time. All right, so step 5, we're getting into the more complicated parts of optimizing your hormones. So first, lifting. Doing the heavy compounds is, like I said earlier, going to send those stress signals to your body to produce more of the hormones, but you want to make sure you're not doing too much of that. You want to keep it heavy, hit legs more because legs are going to send the biggest stress signal, but you don't want to overtrain because then that's going to do the opposite and your body won't be able to keep up with it. So for body composition, for hormone optimization, you want to be lean, but you don't want to get into a crazy deficit like bodybuilders on prep. And I'm sure you've seen online the bodybuilders talking about when they're on prep, they have no energy, their wiener doesn't work as good, stuff like that. And that's because their testosterone tanks, their growth hormone tanks, because their body just isn't getting the right amount of fuel. So if you're not lean, you want to be in a deficit to get lean, but make sure it's slow and controlled and not dropping a bunch of fat right away, because then you're going to hit a wall and it's going to make it way harder and you're not going to feel good. So for nutrition, you want to be having a lot of those fats to help your body produce hormones, getting in that right amount of protein, and getting in those micronutrients that are going to help you digest those fats and those proteins so that your body can use them as efficiently as possible. Some basic supplementation to consider. Obviously, you'll want to speak with a doctor, get your blood tested to make sure you actually need these, but common ones that you might need to implement that are going to help you out a lot on this journey are going to be vitamin D3. 70% of the population is deficient in it, and so obviously you're going to get a lot of that from meat and dairy and getting outside in the sun, but very many people need to supplement with it as well. Getting in magnesium glycinate is going to help your muscle recovery and your sleep quality, as well as threonate is going to help your brain and kind of your REM sleep. Glycinate's more for deep sleep, threonate's more for REM sleep. Combine those, it's going to allow you to recover more efficiently while sleeping and get the best bang for your buck with however much time you have to sleep per night. Zinc is one of the key building blocks for testosterone. Your body needs zinc to produce testosterone, and many people are deficient in it. So you can get that from a lot of, shellfish, red meats, but a lot of people do need to supplement. You do need to see, though, because you can get too much of it and you might not be deficient, and if you're taking the wrong kind, it's not going to do anything. So obviously speak with a doctor, get your blood tested. Creatine is huge. Creatine is going to help your body send water and send nutrients to your muscles and allow your muscles to saturate more of that nutrients. Anywhere from 5 to 10 grams is going to be great for your muscles. I actually take 20 grams a day, and I notice a lot of cognitive benefits as well. Creatine is super good for your muscles and good for energy. Ashwagandha is going to be one of the things that boosts your testosterone the most, and it does that by suppressing your cortisol, because cortisol is the exact opposite of testosterone. It's pretty much the most catabolic thing in your life, and if you can lower your cortisol, your test is naturally going to raise and be able to produce more. And then you want to avoid the endocrine disruptors. So that's going to be stuff like microplastics, processed food, endotoxins, chemicals, all the chemicals that are in laundry detergents, in soaps. So you want to make sure all of those things you're using are natural and that you're storing food in glass or metal containers instead of in plastic, drinking from glass or metal bottles. Small stuff like that is going to make a big difference because you're cutting out those microplastics and those toxins, which are going to disrupt your hormone production. All right, step 6 is going to be the advanced cellular health. So this is going to be optimizing your cells on a deeper level than just the food and the training. This is going to be some supplements that you can add in to allow your cells to turn over faster, to allow them to produce more powerful mitochondria, and overall increase your energy, increase your recovery, increase your mood, everything like that. So something that I added in after speaking with my doctor, and something that I've noticed a huge difference with, is CoQ10, and it's going to support the electron transport chain efficiency, which is going to basically improve the power of your mitochondria. After about a month of being on CoQ10, I noticed elevated levels in my energy overall. And even on nights where I was sleep deprived or didn't get the best sleep score, I still felt great, and I think a lot of that was due to the CoQ10. All right, next up is NAD plus precursors. So that can be directly taking NAD plus. Now that's not FDA approved. I know you can get it in IV drips. I took it from a research website. I'm not recommending this. I'm just telling you what I did. I'm not a doctor. Speak with your doctor if you're interested in this. But it's going to support your cellular energy metabolism pathways. So once again, it's going to give you that boosted energy, allow your metabolism to work more effectively, and increase that cell turnover. Creatine we went over before, but it just helps your cells to recycle the ATP, which basically speeds up how fast you can revamp your energy. And then L-carnitine, acetyl L-carnitine is going to support that fatty acid transport. So that's going to help your body to process those healthy fats that you're getting from, the avocados, the olive oil, the dairy, whatever it may be. It's going to help your body to more efficiently turn that into mitochondrial energy. And then magnesium as well, similar thing as above, and obviously going to help your sleep and recovery. All right, getting in that zone 2 cardio as close as you can to daily is going to keep your aerobic capacity up. It's going to work your cardiovascular system pretty easily every day, and it's something that you can do, while still being able to hold a conversation or being able to type on your phone or do anything like that. And then having the brief HIIT sessions once or twice a week is going to increase your VO2 max and help you to overall have increased cellular health long down the line into the future. Having those fasted windows like we went over before is amazing. Now, there were studies that tested how much effect sauna had on growth hormone, and the results were actually pretty crazy. They noticed that if you do sauna 4 to 7 times a week, 10 to 30 minutes, somewhere in there, your growth hormone can actually increase by tenfold. And now it's not linear. It's going to be a big jump at first and then kind of even out, but that was huge. They found the sweet spot to be, 20 minutes around 5 days a week. I'll end up doing that, anywhere between 4 to 6 days a week, depending on just what my schedule's looking like. And that's something that is going to, one, act as cardio and be super healthy for your heart, but two, also naturally boost that growth hormone in your body through the stress signals. And then cold exposure is going to do the exact same thing. Now it's going to elevate your dopamine throughout the day as well, which is going to naturally lower your cortisol, because dopamine and cortisol are kind of opposites. And then if your cortisol is lowered, then your test is raised. So cold exposure indirectly raises your testosterone. There are studies on that as well that you can look into if you're interested. Then you want to keep your inflammation low, because, if your body's inflamed, then your body has to send signals to those sites to try to eliminate that inflammation, which prevents it from sending that extra blood flow and that extra nutrients to those areas to optimize your hormones, if that makes sense. So that's, once again, processed food, poor sleep. Those are going to, just cause downregulation in your mitochondria and in your cells. All right, so continued onto that last slide, making sure you're getting in that daily movement. So it's going to be 8 to 12K steps daily, right around 10K is that sweet spot. And just getting up throughout the day, constantly moving. So if you have a desk job, if you're sitting a lot, just make sure to take frequent breaks, walk around, just to keep that blood flow up, keep burning calories throughout the day, reduce stiffness, just stay active. And then having light 10-minute walks after your meals is going to improve your digestion and insulin sensitivity. And, it's not adding any sort of training stress. It's not taxing on your body at all, but it's going to just help with that digestion and that efficiency of absorbing those nutrients. Then mobility and recovery. It can be pretty simple, 10 to 15 minutes a day. I do it before bed. I know a lot of people feel great doing it in the morning while getting their morning grounding in sunlight. I personally do it at night to wind down, and I just target my hips, spine, ankles, shoulders, make sure I'm maintaining good joint health so that my workouts are better, so that I feel good, so that I'm able to play with my future kids, get down on the ground, stuff like that. And just make sure you're maintaining that joint health and movement quality. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. And then make sure you're warming up before lifting, guys. I cannot stand when people do, just a quick few arm circles and then get into benching 225 for reps. Make sure you're warming up properly. It's so simple. It's going to take so little time, and it's going to prevent all of these injuries that are just going to cause all these health problems long term. All right, so I went over a lot in this video. How can you actually execute on this and apply this daily? I'm going to break this down into just simple stuff you need to apply every day, every week. So for daily non-negotiables, you want to be hitting that protein target every day. That's super important so that your body has enough protein to recover and to build muscle. As well as that, you want to train, or if it's a rest day, get some movement in. So that's going to be the 10K steps on rest days, or the cardio or the lifts on days that aren't rest days. Just making sure you're constantly moving, constantly keeping that blood flow up in your body and keeping your heart working. You want to have that consistent sleep and wake schedule that's going to just make everything more efficient, boost your mood, make you more motivated to follow through with everything else. And then having those structured meals. So, meal prepping and then alternating those meals. That way you're avoiding snacking or eating out and getting processed foods. And then weekly, you want to be having the 3 to 4 strength sessions minimum. I'm doing 6 right now, plus 2 to 3 conditioning sessions. So on those days, you can have a little bit less of a strength session and focus a bit more on training. So maybe half an hour of strength instead of a full hour. And then that conditioning, you're just focusing on getting your VO2 max up, getting cardiovascular system really working. You want to have 1 to 2 active recovery days. So mine are on Sundays, and on those days, I'll end up walking. I'll end up getting 15 to 20K steps on those days. So I'm doing a significant amount of walking, as well as a lot of passive stretching, foam rolling, taking an Epsom salt bath, just simple stuff that's going to make you feel good mentally and physically, kind of reset you for the next week. And then on that weekly reset day, you're going to adjust your training for the next week to make sure your lifts are improving. You're going to meal prep, make sure your food's all ready to go, and just plan out your recovery sessions throughout the week. And then simple way to track every day is, tracking your weight, not every day, maybe a couple times a week to make sure it's gradually going down or up or whatever your goals are, making sure you're getting in those steps. So either getting a watch for that, just tracking on your phone, anything like that. And then tracking your lifts to make sure you're progressively overloading, making sure you're sticking to the proper routine every day. And make sure you're following the same routine, guys. Don't fall for the shiny object syndrome of seeing someone else online doing this crazy new groundbreaking exercise, because then it's just going to confuse you, ultimately make it not as efficient, and you just want to have a simple structure you can follow every day. So you want to take progress photos just so that you can look back in the future, see how far you came, make sure you're measuring your waist if that's something you're trying to cut down on, just to see your progress overall. It's going to make you feel better. Alright, so like I said in the beginning, after you've applied all of this, you are going to feel so much better physically and mentally. You're going to have noticeable fat loss, improved body composition, you're going to have overall better energy, improved focus, you're going to feel stronger, have more muscle mass, and be able to perform at a higher level. So have a higher VO2 max, higher max weight movement. Your sleep is going to be more efficient. You're going to feel more recovered after sleeping. Your digestion should be so much better. You're not going to have leaky gut syndrome anymore. Your body's going to be digesting those micro and macronutrients so much better. And you're just going to be able to stay more consistent without getting burned out like every other week. Alright guys, I hope this video helped. There was a lot of information in it, and it might be confusing to know what you need to do to truly get to that next level. And so if you're ready to take it to that next level and want, a clear structure that you can follow every day, you can go ahead and schedule a call down below. It's going to be a one-on-one call with me where we can go over exactly how we can start optimizing your hormones and optimizing your training and diet and mindset so that you're able to stay consistent every single day and, completely recomp your body in 90 days. So if you want more info first, you can DM me Bulletproof on Instagram and I'll send over some simple guides and some simple info that might help you out. And you're going to be able to just completely recomp your body while also killing vices, killing addictions, sins in your life, and do it all ultimately to honor God, because I am a Christian and that's what I center everything I do around. So I hope this video helped out, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe for more health videos like this. Share it with a friend who's been slacking lately, who needs kick in the butt to make sure they are improving week by week and growing on this journey with you. So stay tuned for my next video. Peace.